Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Joining us here today at our MCTV studios, we're honored to be sitting with no other than the man behind the curtain, Mr. Matt Kanellis. Mr. Kanellis, welcome to the show.
Hector, happy to be on. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, the man behind the curtain.
That's right. Mr. Kanellis.
I like that.
You have served the residents of Methuen as City Council and now also as Chief of Staff.
That's true.
Tell us some of your accomplishments.
Sure. I actually thought we were here to talk about the Red Sox and the losing streak, but at least, but I'll talk about my accomplishments. I'm a lifelong Methuen resident. I've lived here all my life, went to Methuen schools, Methuen High School, and actually went to Merrimack College, which was not too far from Methuen, and then went to Suffolk Law School in Boston. So I'm a local guy. Happened to run for City Council when I was 29 years old, and I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to win and serve as East District Councilor for 6 years. After that, I went into the mayor's office and served as Mayor Manzi's chief of staff now for almost 6 years. I can't believe how fast time flies. And was able to accomplish a lot in my 12 years in Methuen government and also as an attorney. I also was an attorney that worked for the state for several years, had my own law practice for a few years. So we've been doing a lot. I think one of the proudest accomplishments that I have personally is to create the new high school in Methuen, because as I mentioned, I went to Methuen High School and I know the deficiencies there. And I think that once this new high school is completed, it's going to be a totally different learning experience for all the children involved, including hopefully my children who are right now in the Timony and will hopefully benefit by the new high school once it's done. So if I had to list my greatest accomplishment, it would be that. Obviously, there's a lot of help there. I worked with Mayor Manzi on it. The building team that we put together is second to none. And we're really on budget, on schedule, and the state is funding a large portion of it, which is great for Methuen taxpayers. So I would have to list the high school as the accomplishment that I'll look back on and say, you know, hopefully that's the greatest one.
What about looking back? Any regrets?
I think you always have regrets on certain minor issues, but I think at the end of the day, I think I went to Methuen City Hall every day saying I'm going to do the best I can for Methuen citizens, and you know, sometimes that went well, sometimes that didn't go as well, as you know, the ups and downs of Methuen government and politics. But by and large, I think we've actually accomplished a lot. I accomplished a lot on the council and in the mayor's office, and we continue that. You know, I mentioned the high school. We've done a lot of green initiatives to green up the city, to make it more energy efficient, and that's even going to be going on after we're gone. And even the high school project is going to be something that's more of a legacy because we have term limits in Methuen, as you know, so we're not going to be able to see it through to the end. But so there's a lot of great things going on. I still love the city. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. It's a really great place to live, and I talk it up to all my friends, everybody. I try to get them to move here, participate in government, because we need more people, as you know, participating in the local government as well. So
now, when you're not involved with politics, you have another hobby.
Yes.
Which is poet writing.
Yeah, poetry is one of my great hobbies and my great loves, and I've been writing poems for years, since I was probably freshman in high school. And I actually have a degree in English from Merrimack College, and I majored in English, took a lot of classes there. And I minored in political science, and I went into the law and government avenue rather than going to be an English teacher, but I could have done that as well. So I am published in several places, and I was talking to Krista McLeod at the library, and I asked her, is there any sort of writing group at the library that I could get involved in? And she said, there's no poetry writing group, but if you want to create one, feel free. And so I did, actually. I just put a little feeler out there and created a group called the Gray Court Poets. And it was created in 2008, and it's thriving today. We have about 15 people that come regularly to our meetings, and I have a email list of about 60 people that are involved in the group. So it's really been great, and really there's a lot of people out there that just didn't know how to connect with their poetry, didn't know what to do with it, and they found this group at the library, and they come and they read their poems, and a lot of them have been published since then, who had never been published before, in smaller magazines and even in the Eagle Tribune as part of their contest. So it's been fulfilling and rewarding for me to actually start that group and see it blossom.
Now, how difficult is it to do poetry?
I mean, I find it, I mean, I've been doing it a long time, and it's come sort of naturally to me when I get an idea for a poem, or sometimes it starts with just a word, and it blossoms from there. But I find it tough going back and editing sometimes. I can get the original poem out okay, and then you're going back and you're really scrutinizing every word, and you're wondering if this is right or if that's right. And that's where the poetry group comes in handy, because I'll read the poem at the group, or somebody else will read their poem, and we'll get opinion, and we'll see what people think. And we have a lot of different opinions at that group, and a lot of times it makes the poem better. So.
What inspires you to create poems, to write poems, and so on?
Oh, you know, pretty much everything. A lot of things in everyday life inspire me. I personally are inspired a lot by nature. I write a lot of poems about nature. Fishing is another one of my hobbies that I used to do with my father, and now I do with my son. And so I've written a lot of poems about fishing, you know, that sort of thing. A lot of them take place in Methuen. I've written about the Merrimack River. I've written about Gray Court Park. So I like the local feel. As you know, Robert Frost lived in Methuen and taught in Methuen, and he's been, even though I've never met him, he had been an inspiration to me, just reading about him and reading his poems and reading about his time in Methuen. So.
Now, does poetry play a part in Methuen school system, or is that something that we should be moving towards to help?
I'd like to see it play a larger part, but I know that it does. As a matter of fact, this month, April, is National Poetry Month. And it's celebrated throughout the country in various different ways. But I know that a lot of school teachers actually do a poetry session or dedicate the whole month to poetry workshops and whatnot in their classes. And I think we need to do more of that, not just in April, but I'm happy to see that that's happening. And actually, even at the library, one of the things I'm going to do today, after I pick up my kids at the school for the half day, is go help decorate the poet tree, they call it poetry, at the library. So people can go and hang their poems, hang their favorite poems on the tree, and it's just to celebrate National Poetry Month.
So how difficult is for some of those people that don't know how to write a poem? I'm sure it's more than roses are red, violets are blue.
Right.
What should people look for in creating poems and writing poems?
Right. I think probably the most important thing is to be honest to yourself and write for yourself. Don't write thinking, you know, so-and-so is going to read this, or I'm going to try to get this published. If it's sort of cathartic for yourself to get your thoughts on paper and do it in the form of poetry, just go with it. And, you know, who cares whether it gets published or what others think? So it could be a real good personal experience for you. It could be almost like therapy for you to do that. And so that's what I encourage people to do, is just get your thoughts out. Write it out, and then you can go back later and tweak it, or put it in the drawer for a year and take it out a year later, and maybe you have another thought to add. But don't be so concerned about who's going to read it or will it ever get published. Just start writing, and you'll find that it's very cathartic in a lot of ways.
You mentioned you formed a group at the library.
Yes.
Is this open to anyone? Or?
Yeah, I wanted to have a group that was totally open to the public. Because one of the goals of the group was to bring more poetry to the public. So it's not an insular, closed group of academics or anything like that. We have some people there that are high school students. We have some people there that are retirees in their 70s. So there's a broad range of people that come to the meetings every month. And in all different styles. I tend to write more formal poetry that with rhyme and meter. Some people write free verse. There's one woman that writes what she calls flash fiction, which is maybe about a page of fiction in a poetic form. So it's really open to all kinds of poets and all kinds of styles.
So now, there are different types of poets, not just, what types of poets are there?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's poets that write more formal poetry, like I tend to do. There are poets that write more what they call free verse, which is, sort of anything goes. And then there are performance poets, and once in a while we'll have somebody that comes in that are, I don't know if you're familiar with slam poetry or poetry slams, where they essentially memorize their poem and they perform it in public. And if you go to a poetry slam, people are judged on their performance and on the poem itself. It's a really interesting experience. It's almost like rap a little bit, only it's, it's poetry. There's no music in the background. So we've had some performance poets come in. So all different styles, just like music. You may have a classical musician, you have a rock musician, a rapper. It's the same thing with poetry. There's all different styles.
Now, is there a place where people can go and see some of the poets that you've written?
Yeah, the poems that I've written? Sure, yeah. Well, I have a website, mattcornelis.com, And if you go on that website, some of my poetry is there, and all of the information on the Gray Court Poets is there as well. If you wanted to attend a meeting, the information is there. It's generally the third Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock at the library. And there's also some YouTube links to myself reading some poems and other members of the group reading poems. And some other media links too. Actually, MCTV did a nice story on the poets maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and that story is up there too, so you can watch that and learn a little bit more. So it's pretty interactive.
Does the group have like a Facebook or a Twitter page where people can follow
yeah,
as well?
Yeah, actually we do. I have a group on Facebook. It's set up as a group, and you could go on there and join that group. I think we have maybe about 40 people in the Facebook group, and some of them actually in other countries that are just sort of people that I've known or that are interested in poetry, and you can do all that online now with Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, look for Gray Court Poets Group, and you can go and join the group.
What are some of your favorite poems that you have written?
I have a lot of poems that I've written that I've liked. I've participated in the Eagle Tribune contest every year, and I've been published probably about 10 times as part of that contest. And those are some of the favorite poems that I've written about spring and the Merrimack River. I wrote one about fishing, like I said, called Tackle Box, which is about my father, who's now deceased, but taught me how to fish and how I'm teaching my son how to fish. I wrote one that was published a year or so ago about a place up in Maine called Bailey Island, where we like to go on vacation. So like I said, I like to write about nature and relationships, father-son relationships, and I even have some romantic poetry out there back probably from my younger days that people seem to enjoy. So
now, you've mentioned that some of your poems been published in the Eagle Tribune.
Right.
MCTV did a story on it as well.
Right.
Do we expect, or should the people expect to see Matt Canella's poems as Artist of the Month at City Hall?
As Artist of the Month. Well, we haven't, the Artist of the Month program, we've really focused on visual art. And for people that don't know, the mayor, since he took office, runs an Artist of the Month program, and every month we hang new either photographs or paintings of a Methuen artist or an artist involved in a Methuen artistic group. And it's been very successful, and we've been able to tap into a new person every month. Right now we have photographs hanging up. Before that we had watercolor, so it's all different media. We haven't done poets or sculpture or anything like that. Not to say that we wouldn't do that, but I think we really wanted to be focused on you coming into a professional office and you want to, see some nice scenery around you, and we have limited space. I'm sure you've seen the displays in there month to month as you've been in the office. So it's really worked out well. So I don't think I'll be hanging my poems up there anytime soon, nor has the mayor asked me to do that. But like I said, you can go to my website and you can see it there. I've been published in Methuen Life as well, and then some more national publications. Romantics Quarterly has published a few of my poems, the Bridge Review. So we'll see. And if I get more time, I always want to work on a full-length book. It's just that I've been so busy with family and work that I haven't had a chance to really put that together yet, but I'm hoping to do that.
Well, now that you are looking for more time, Mayor Manzi will be term limit out, so obviously he will no longer be mayor. What would be next for Matt Canella's? Would there be more poem writing now that you're...
I'm going to be a full-time poet after this, yeah. We'll see if that pays the bills. I'm always going to write poetry no matter what I do, because it's just, who I am, and it's something that's been with me for a long time. It's very hard to make any money doing that on a full-time basis. A lot of poets out there are mostly teachers or professors, and they do their poetry on the side and whatnot. There are a few real big names that draw money on the speaking circuit, but those are few and far between. For me, I'm just sort of keeping my options open right now. I think I have a lot of options given my background in law and government, in city government and state government, and even in private practice. So, I mean, I know it's coming up, and I should probably be thinking about more what my future is going to hold. But I've been really busy with some projects the mayor has me doing, and believe me, he's not sort of easing into going out of office. He's been working nonstop. He wants to get as much of the high school project done as possible. He wants to wrap up a lot of the initiatives that we started, so we're not just leaving those hanging at the end of the year. So I'll see. I'll keep my options open, and I hope to be still involved in Methuen government in one way or the other.
And you've also played on TV commercials, Where's the Beef, with
Yes.
the mayor as well.
Yeah, my TV debut with George and Jamie, yeah. Actually, that went over pretty well, and that went up on Facebook, and I got a lot of good feedback on that.
that
So
was-
maybe acting is in my future.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good, definitely.
Yeah.
So, with all the accomplishments and the poem writing and everything else, now that you're going to be the mayor's term limit out, and
Right.
you're not sure which direction you're going to go,
Right.
Where would you like to see the city of Methuen lean towards more?
I think one of the things I started on the city council is that we had a council then that was professional, that got along, that got things done. And that included, Mayor Manzi, who was on the council with me and was one of my mentors on that council. And I'd like to see that continue. I'd like to see the relationship between the mayor and the council improve and get better, and everybody do what they can for the citizens of Methuen, because that's really what it's all about. I think Methuen's moving in a lot of positive directions right now. I think we're not, everybody's in tough shape because of the budget, but we're not in as bad of shape as a lot of other cities and towns. The unions have made a lot of concessions to get us through some of the hard times, and I'd really like to see things pick up financially in the city as well. And culturally and historically, I think we're moving in a great direction there. We have a lot of historic treasures that we're preserving, and we have more cultural groups and more things going on. The library is really a great hub for that, and I'd like to see that continue as well.
Great. Just want to remind the viewers, you are watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. If you have a question that you want us to ask your government or legal representations, send us an email at thehectormontalvoshow@yahoo.com. You can also visit our website at behindthescenes.weebly.com or look us up at Facebook, Behind the Scenes with Hector Montalvo. Mr. Canellis, I know that it's a half a day here in Methuen today,
Yes.
and we have to go pick up our children, me, myself included.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat.
That is correct. And just really quickly, for those people that want to find you, talk to you, look up your poems, give us the sites, how they
Okay.
reach you. And
Right, for the poetry and the Gray Court Poets, that's easy. That's mattcornelis.com. You can Google that, www.mattcornelis.com. All that information is there. For people looking for me in my capacity in City Hall, first of all, I'm there every day. You can come in and stop in and say hello. You can call me in the mayor's office, 978-983-8505 is the number there. There's also the city website, which is a great resource, and you can send, if you have an issue, a service complaint or an issue, you can send emails to us that way. And those all come to John Mallory, who's in the IT department, and eventually come to me, and then we make sure those get to the and get handled.
Well,
so there's a lot of ways.
you have been an open and transparent chief of staff. You do respond to
that.
your constituents on Facebook. We see a lot of comments on Facebook from constituents asking you questions and so on,
Right.
which is something that you don't see in Lawrence or with other chief of staff.
Yeah.
So we thank you for that and
Thank
for
you.
responding to the people of Methuen. I want to thank you for coming in today.
Okay.
And I want to thank the viewers at home, the crew at MCTV, and all the staff at MCTV. Thank you for watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses. We let you decide. Thank you for watching.